All right, Chief, you got your Senka?
I'm good. I'm here.
I think we're ready to go. Hey, listen, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty full on chicken sandwiches.
Oh, man.
Pooh Bear, the Chief, it's time for us to get to work. I am beloved. We've got the NFL draft. Lots of football, lots of baseball, some crazy shenanigans in UFC last night, lost submarines, and more. We are a mere 6 days away from the Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby. If you haven't seen the short, you've got to check it out. You won't be disappointed. Welcome to Sunday night. This is the main event. All right, so listen, I got to know. Oh, my gosh, this guy. This guy. Listen, you're throwing off my mojo.
Every time.
Hey, when you win a
go ahead and take your fame. Go ahead and take your moment of fame.
So our trainer Ashley, creates this new award. It's a monthly award for top boot camper. And I am the inaugural winner out of everyone in the entire class for the award. So the other day I took it with me to work and I filmed it with me, making calls around the station, going to headquarters. And so here it is making its debut on the main event.
This guy, Pooh Bear, we get out of the car. We get out of the car on Friday for Saturday morning. I apologize. We got out of the car yesterday morning for boot camp. This dude is wearing the trophy around his neck like he's who's that guy who wears the clock?
Oh, like 2 Chainz or
Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
Yeah. He's wearing the trophy like he's Flavor Flav.
Oh my gosh. The whole time Ashley's thinking, if you put this much effort into your boot camping, you might be in better shape.
There's some truth to that, Pooh Bear. Yeah, there's some truth to that. All right, well, listen, congratulations on your achievement.
Man. Thank you.
Let me know when you lose some weight. All right. So I got to know, I really enjoyed last week's show with the stock medic. What did you go and buy on Monday morning?
He got me interested talking about that Moderna and the other biotech stuff. I did a little research on them, and guess what I came across? I came across a little gem called Novavax. And I'm going to tell you, I think that Novavax is going to be the way to go. So I bought some of this, and it's trading, kind of higher. It's still $200 a share. And but the talk is that this thing could go as high as maybe $400 or $500. And we're talking soon. So that's what I bought.
Well, I'm with the amount of money that I have in that, I'm hoping you're right. I might pay off the house or something.
I did some selling. I sold some stocks I was just hanging on to long term. Because here's my approach to this. I've got my pension fund and all that stuff. I let the professionals handle that. Right. That is dutifully money deposited into that every month. Not just mine. My employer contributes some of that as well, and I'll let them handle that. But the stuff I like to play with, my fund money that's I've gotten here in the app. That's the kind of stuff I sold some shares of some stuff to free up some money so I could buy some more cryptos. I've been on the crypto kick this week. Wasn't a good week for crypto, but
no, it wasn't. I did something this week I said I would never ever do, and I invested money in that house of cards we call crypto.
Yeah,
and it wasn't a good investment so far. I'll be honest with you. Now I know it's only a week. That's not really
well.
Fair,
there were some other things at play. I don't know if we didn't discuss this last week, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but this was the week of 420, so there was a lot of social media chatter about purchasing specifically Dogecoin on 420, and so a lot of these pothead, weedhead kids that don't know anything about the stock market were just kind of dabbling with that. I don't know what kind of effect that may or may not have had to the market or to the stock itself. Plus, with all the other notoriety it's getting, and Elon Musk tweets about something, it goes crazy, then he doesn't tweet about it and it dies off, and who knows? There's no rhyme or reason to this stuff.
Yeah. Hey, so I went ahead and took his recommendation and opened a stash account on the app on the phone.
Me too.
Okay. Did you find it addicting? I mean, I'm like, because you don't have to buy a full share. You can buy like a partial share. So you can do like $10 at a time.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that for me that lined up. Like, and I said, I did something I said I would never do. I bought into crypto. But I also started buying some fractional shares. Also something I said I would never do. Like if you can't afford the whole share, you can't afford to be in the game. It was kind of my philosophy, but I bought fractional shares in 5 stocks, and I did set up the recurring. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to have automatic buys on certain stocks. And I look at it more as like almost like a savings account. Like, hey, I got an automatic auto draft going into those twice a month. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. See, that's how I feel about my professionally handled account. The one that I handle, this is just for the day. I'll buy stuff for that because with the app I'm using, I don't use the Stash app. Sorry, Courtney. The app I'm using, all my trades are free. So I'm just buying and trading stuff just on the whim. I'll see somebody eating a certain type of food or something. I'm like, oh, looks like a good stock.
Yeah.
I'm holding it for 30 minutes. It makes me 20 cents and boom, sold.
Well, listen, not to give anything away from the next short coming out, which is the chicken sandwich challenge.
Yes.
You didn't feel that way when you saw somebody eating the McDonald's chicken sandwich.
No, but I do know that McDonald's is a nice, healthy company that isn't going to get hurt because their chicken sandwich may not be as good as others. Or maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know.
So Pooh Bear, is that going to drop this week?
It should. I was on a nice little roll before we started the show here tonight, so I plan on putting another couple hours in this evening. So yeah, I don't see any reason why it can't get done by Wednesday or Thursday.
Cool. So be on the lookout for the next short, the man event with some special guests, Matty Ho and the Chef Javi. We taste tested 6 chicken sandwiches from some of your favorite fast food restaurants. And you got to watch it to know who wins.
It's a big deal. These chicken wars, people are taking it serious, and there's a lot of competition between some of the big players, especially Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. And I think now Zaxby's has entered the war. So a lot of heat, a lot of smoke.
Yeah, when you say taste tested, I mean, I'm not really sure that, like a chicken sandwich, per restaurant is a taste test. That's a full on, just get it on, So.
Well, so
I left there with no room left.
I was gonna say, so here's how many chicken sandwiches did you eat? Like we ate fractional chicken sandwiches.
Fractional shares.
Fractional shares of chicken sandwiches. But when it was all said and done, how many chicken sandwiches do you think you ate?
TSG and we were sitting next to each other, so we were sharing. We were cut them in half. So I know I ate just under 3 because there was one in particular I didn't finish. So
I'd probably say I went a strong 3. I went hard on the first one because I was so hungry.
Yeah, you did.
The first taste was actually more of a meal than it was a taste. I mean, I really hammered it. So yeah, I think all in all, I think I ended up probably around the 3 mark.
Yeah, I think I was too. I'm with you, Chief. There was one I didn't eat all of, but the rest of them I ate the whole half. Right. I ate the fractional share. Fractional share. All right, so a lot of going on. A lot of stuff going on in the NFL this week. Obviously, the NFL draft is on Thursday. We'll get to that in a minute. But just some short NFL news. What the whole rule change on the numbers? Is it a story? Is it not a story? What do y'all? I mean, Tom Brady made it a thing.
Tom Brady sure did. He does not like it at all. He thinks it's stupid.
He reminded me of why I used to hate him.
He was at the UFC fight last night, by the way, with Mike Evans and a few other fellas.
It was in Jacksonville, I believe. So it wasn't that far. Where they probably took Tom's private jet,
maybe, or his private helicopter. He was upset with it because of more of a during play he might have an issue with. Normally, a linebacker would be say 55 or 52. Well, now your linebacker is wearing number 4, and he can, you're not able to identify him as quickly as you might be able to normally. I don't know if that's actually accurate. I've never been behind offensive line looking at defensive players to know.
So what you're telling me is a guy who's a 20-year veteran, the GOAT, probably the greatest quarterback of all time, can't identify who's blitzing in coverage?
Yeah.
Look, I think Tom Brady is a lot like a veteran fireman, because there's 2 things that veteran firemen hate: the way they are and change. You tell a veteran fireman, hey, we're going to change just the way the numbers on the truck look, and you will blow up an entire room. I mean, it is crazy. It's still the same number.
This sounds an awful lot like you specifically. Is this all veteran firemen or just you?
No. I'm talking. It is not just me. And actually, some guys, we did go through this a couple of years ago. The numbers stayed the same. The size of the numbers actually changed. And I've got a friend of mine who still can't let it go. And,
wow.
So, but I'm telling you, just the smallest little thing. He's been doing it for 30 years, and he's like, God, I don't know what truck it is. I mean, you do know what truck it is, but I mean, now
it's your truck. It's
the
same truck.
I'm looking at a screen. If I'm in the command vehicle, I'm looking at a screen, and it tells me which one of this comes. Or I got a radio. I'm like, hey, who is that coming around the corner? I couldn't see it from down the block before. I still can't see it coming down from the yellow one. So,
but his complaint is that he's not going to be able to determine if it's a safety wearing number 4 or a linebacker wearing number 4 to be able to call out and cut the coverage pre-snap. I don't know if I buy that a whole lot. I find it offensive just for the fact that they didn't allow the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman to have as much variety. Right. As a fat guy who used to play offensive line in high school,
as a big guy, you're offended.
Why can't I wear number 9? Why do I have to stick with 77? That's not right. That's not fair.
The number will look really small on your jersey.
Yes, it would. It would look stupid. Which is why I have a problem with the whole thing. It would look stupid. But I don't even like the wide receivers wearing in the teens. I like them traditional in the 80s.
In the 80s, yes.
That's just old me, whatever. But I don't care. It's a number, man. Who cares? They do it in college. The kids are wearing whatever number. Doug Flutie wore 21 as a quarterback in college. Come on.
I have a feeling that Tom Brady's going to be okay.
He'll be fine.
He's going to get.
I don't think it's the quarterbacks you need to worry about. I think it's some of the other players that you need to worry about. In terms of like determining assignments and stuff, because most of the time, if you're playing offensive line or defensive line, it's not because you have a quick-witted ability to.
Come on, man.
Whoa.
Cooper's an offensive lineman. I play defensive line. You just
wow.
2 of the 3 guys on the show.
Mr. Never Played.
Yeah.
Me, kickball expert. Hey, the bigger question is, what number is the Buccaneers' newest player going to wear? And who is that newest player?
Okay, so you're segueing us right into the draft.
I'm just segueing right into the draft, man.
The draft.
First round, Thursday night.
So do you want to start with the overall NFL, or do you guys want to talk some Bucks real quick?
Let's go overall NFL, because that has a lot to do with how I lead into the Bucks.
Okay. Sure. All right. So, the draft's coming up on Thursday night, and I think, I don't know. I think the first 3 picks are they're probably already out there. Cliff's shaking his head. Trevor Lawrence is going number 1 overall.
Number 1, I think, is pretty solid. I don't know about the rest.
Trevor Lawrence is going to go number 1. He shouldn't, but he is. So here's the thing. Let me just get started with this pick right here. I'll tell you my strategy on this. How do you make a quarterback better? The easiest way to make a quarterback better is to give him a better offensive line. Okay, a lot of people are missing out, or he's not in a lot of discussions in the top 3, is this cat, Penei Sewell. He's a huge guy. He's fast. He's mobile. He's strong. He's got everything that you want in a franchise offensive lineman. He can play multiple positions. Doggone it, the guy can play running back at times.
That's the tackle from Oregon, right?
That's the guy. Absolutely. So, Jacksonville kind of has a quarterback already. I mean, Okay,
You're calling Minshew the quarterback in Jacksonville?
Minshew's gone.
So
Minshew's gone.
I don't know
Well,
who you think is taking snaps.
Well, that's going to mess up my strategy. Hold on a second here.
I think. Let me.
What I mean to say is the Jets are going to.
Yeah, I could be wrong too. I'm pretty sure Minshew is.
If you think of the long history of overall number one quarterback picks, okay, that didn't pan out, versus the overall list of number one picks of offensive linemen that didn't pan out, I'm telling you, percentage-wise, the offensive linemen are more ready to play in the NFL than the quarterbacks are.
Yeah,
so
well, I think
he's still on the roster. He's on the roster.
Yeah. Okay. You screwed me there.
I think. Well, sorry. I think the scuttlebutt is once they draft.
Okay.
Clemson boy, he's gonna be gone. I think sorry.
I don't care who you bring in there. You bring Trevor Lawrence in there. You take Tom Brady go in there. You don't block for him. You don't have a running game. He's not going to be successful. You can't. So you got to have your foundation built first. I say draft Sewell and get another quarterback a little bit later on, or do some trades, or stay with Minshew. But I think that you have to have your offensive line, and this guy overall is going to be on your team for a decade or longer. Whereas Trevor Lawrence, he might not.
So you don't think Lawrence is a franchise quarterback?
I think Trevor Lawrence is a winner. I think he's a winner. I also think he needs a haircut, but
my thing about Trevor Lawrence is I think he's the best quarterback available in the draft. I don't think he is.
He's not my number one quarterback.
I don't think he's the answer to a franchise, though.
Yeah. This is all.
So who do you think is the number one quarterback? Pooh?
Well, before I say that, this is the proverbial problem with having a top 5 pick, right? You're going to the player you choose is going to go to a bad team. This happens every single season. You have to be almost a generational talent to kind of transcend those issues, right? So, just to Chief's point, just ask Joe Burrow about having an offensive line. That's what put him out of the last season.
Yeah,
not having a line. Russell Wilson right now would kill for an offensive line.
Yeah.
You just saw the Chiefs trade for a tackle from Baltimore this week because their offensive line was so porous. So it is the foundation of a team. It's not a sexy pick. It is not what your fan base wants to see. It doesn't sell tickets. Unfortunately, picks like Trevor Lawrence do sell tickets. But my top quarterback, at least I'll put it this way. I look at the draft in a like a 5-year globe. Who's going to be the best player 5 years from now, right? Okay. And for me, quarterback wise, that's going to be Trey Lance. I think he has the athletic ability. He's going to go to a team that is a little bit better than the top 4 or 5 teams, where he's going to have a chance to succeed and have a chance to grow in a better system, right?
Well, I think you see that a lot, Pooh Bear. I think to your point right there.
Yeah, that's my point.
I think you see that a lot. The by venture of sucking, you get one of the first 5 picks, and you pick a notable, sexy player out there, but that doesn't make you a good football team overnight.
Correct.
But when you look at some of the quarterbacks in the NFL who've had success as rookies, they were late round picks. They were picked 13th, 20th, maybe in the second round. I mean, Russell Wilson put the Seahawks on the map as a rookie. Right. But he was later in the draft. So
Tom Brady was round 6.
Yeah, he was way late, and he didn't start until I think later in his first year. Drew Bledsoe got hurt, and he came in. So, but right now, speaking of the Patriots, that's where a lot of the draft boards have Trey Lance being selected. Is New England. So, they don't have much around him right now. I also have Cam Newton as their starter penciled in. So it might be a situation where he sits for a season and just kind of learns the playbook and figures things out, because he really didn't play this last year either. So it's a risky pick, but I think his abilities and the other thing too is it's the intangible of being slighted, right? So he feels he's a big time player. He feels he should be getting the pro days that the Trevor Lawrences and the kid from
Justin Fields,
but then the kid from Alabama,
Wilson.
He's the worst one.
Mac.
Yeah, he's going to be the worst draft pick in the last 10 years. Anyway, he feels he should be in that class, and he's not. So he's going to have that inner drive that I've got to be better. And I think he already has. I was watching a piece on him earlier about he wasn't recruited as a quarterback. He was recruited as a position player. And just those types of things that get built into you mentally, that's the type of person that usually excels at their level. They just keep pushing.
When he's playing paper, scissors, rock, is he going rock, rock, rock? Or
only if he's playing with the Eagles. Oh, these guys.
That's the craziest idea ever for an interview for your draft pick.
I don't know. I've been putting some thought into it. Go ahead, Pooh Bear.
No, I just for people that don't know what we're talking about, the Philadelphia Eagles this week, it came out that their coach and the general manager during their remote interviews with some of the players that the prospective draft picks, they, in order to kind of gauge what kind of competitor they are, have been playing rock, paper, scissors with them over Zoom calls. So, 1, 2, 3, you lost. You had rock. You're done. I win. So, I kind of, it made sense when they explained it, but I'm like, it's just silly. There has to be a better way. Is that what all the teams are doing? Or the world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers asking that of, the outside linebacker they're looking at?
So I wonder if they're using it as an icebreaker. If they're using it as an icebreaker, to kind of get to know the guys. Okay, I can understand that.
Yep.
But if this is really their strategy, for finding out how competitive their guy is, I mean, why not just ask them? You want to go the original Red Dawn movie, or do you want to go with the remake?
The original for sure. All right, so
here's all day.
So here's what I think about it: is somebody has turned rock, paper, scissors into one of those personality tests. So what they've identified is based on some other things. Like, I'm sure they did more than rock, paper. They got the Wonderlic. They probably do some disc testing. Who knows what all is in there for personality tests, right? But somebody has figured out behaviors of people who are common rocks, common scissors, and common papers. And they're taking some combination of all of that stuff with the rock, paper, scissors to try to figure out who they've got.
You think it's that deep?
Yes.
You think it's that deep? I don't know.
Yep.
The coach's explanation was...
And here's the thing I'll tell you about it. Is that's only, if it is, it only lasts for so long, because eventually the players are going to learn how to cheat that test.
Sure they are.
Right?
Yeah.
But right now, if you're like the forerunner on it, like the thought leader on it, it's a good opportunity.
Or maybe this is why the Eagles are picking 12. Man,
maybe. Listen, their entire franchise is a wreck right now. They have no direction. They're changing coaches out like anything else. It's just they don't have a quarterback. You couldn't tell me their identity, right? You don't know if they're running team, a defensive team, passing team.
Randall Cunningham is their identity.
Okay, I mean currently. I would love that. Randall Cunningham was one of my favorite players. He'd be awesome if he was back in here.
Donovan McNabb.
Not one of my favorite players. I prefer my Rondé Barbers over my Donovan McNabbs.
I prefer watching the Buccaneers walk out of Philadelphia.
Shut down the vet and open up the Franklin or whatever they call it.
Back to the draft. Okay, so we obviously disagree a little bit on the first round, on who's going to be the first overall pick. So that brings us to the second pick. What are your thoughts?
I think it's your guy. I think it's the offensive lineman.
Yeah, and for the record, I don't disagree that Trevor Lawrence is going to go number one. I just disagree he's going to be as successful as people want him to be. Maybe he will. He could prove us all wrong. But the second pick, most people have Zach Wilson going to the Jets, which is just another train wreck pick. I mean, it's the Jets, right?
I think the challenge is all three of these first three teams need a quarterback.
Yes.
They all need a quarterback, right?
Yes.
The only one who's got a shot of a quarterback is probably the Niners, because, they still have Jimmy Garoppolo.
And they have probably the best complete roster of the top five. They're just looking for.
I think they'd be smarter, run another season with Garoppolo, taking this stud offensive lineman that Cliff just talked us through, and setting themselves up for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Jets need a quarterback more than they need an offensive lineman. Their offensive line's not
Dude,
terrible,
they
but
need a reset
they
button,
don't have a
bro.
quarterback, period.
Well, I think what last year proved for the 49ers, and I'm not a 49er fan, but they were clearly a favorite. They just came off of a Super Bowl appearance the year before, and they come in and they get a bunch of injuries and can't compete in the West.
Yeah.
So I think that was a clear sign that you
Couldn't
need
play
depth.
in their home stadium.
Yeah,
every game was an away game. Yep.
But you need depth. If they had depth, they would have been a little bit better success than they were. Maybe, I don't know if they've been a playoff team, but they would have been a better team than they were last season. So they lost a few key players, and boom, they're nothing. So look for the depth. I agree with Chief. Stick with Stick with Garoppolo. Get some depth. Then maybe look for a quarterback next year if you're still unsatisfied with him. But yeah, they've got Zach Wilson going there, which I think is just going to be Mac Jones. I think he's going to be one of the worst quarterbacks ever to come out. I mean, Achilles Smith, terrible.
Yeah, I feel Justin Fields is probably going to be their pick and not Mac Jones.
I think they would do themselves a better service if they went with Justin Fields than they did with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, this guy's got cement blocks for feet. He's only a decent quarterback because of the offensive talent around him, right? Which has been proven year in and year out in Alabama. You can't name a single quarterback who's ever come from Alabama that's had success in the NFL. And I'd even argue Joe Namath wasn't even that successful in the NFL. He did win a Super Bowl, but other than that, he didn't have great numbers.
Well, that is the trap with all these elite quarterbacks coming out of college. Heisman Trophy winners, they've been surrounded by the best offensive line, the best wide receivers, the best running backs, and they've been supported by the best defense. You know, their defense is just better than every other team's offense out there. And then when they have to play on par, it's a totally different game. So that is, in my opinion, that is the absolute trap for picking, one of these quarterbacks so early on. And why I would say, hey, an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, even, a linebacker is a much safer, and to some extent, secondary coverages, or even maybe an elite receiver if he's got size and speed like a Mike Evans. But definitely not. I would stay away from running backs, and I stay away from quarterbacks because
I think running backs are a dime a dozen.
They are a dime a dozen.
Anymore in the NFL, you need 2 or 3 of them. To get through a season anymore. And I think the NFL has also made more of the change to a passing league. For a while, it was a running, and it goes back and forth all the time.
Sure.
But I think right now it's a passing league. I'm going to give you a quarterback you guys are all going to laugh at me about.
Okay.
Kyle Trask.
I don't laugh at Trask at all. I think Trask is actually going to be a solid NFL quarterback.
Yeah. Here's why. The guy has had to come through hardship to even be a starting quarterback at Florida. And I love people who find a way to win. And I think that's the type of person that you want on your team. Of all of those, in my opinion, he's the most used to being a pocket passer. Like, he's an NFL style quarterback. He's got the size. He's got the smarts. He played in the SEC against some of these really tough teams.
He is low-key the player I'm hoping the Bucs are able to get at 32.
I have a note on that too.
Yeah, I honestly think that the Bucs are going to be able to pick the best player available, right? And Jason Light has said such. He said over and over again they're going to pick the best players available or best player available. They do not have any kind of a hierarchy as far as whether it should be a linebacker or an edge rusher or defensive back or whatever. It could be a running back for all we know. But I think that in order to set this team up for future success post Tom Brady, you need a player of the caliber of a Kyle Trask for all the reasons you just listed, because that's exactly the way Tom Brady plays. And for Trask to come in here, work with the Bruce Arians system, more than likely going to be morphed into the Byron Leftwich system when BA retires. You're going to see that, and he's going to be able to work with the top-notch receivers, the top-notch offensive line, see what it looks like, see what it's looked like from the GOAT's perspective, right? We've talked about that before. He's not a great teacher as far as let me show you how to be a better quarterback, but he's a good teacher, and let me show you how to be a better professional. So I think that would be an advantageous pick for the Buccaneers at that number 32.
I think so too. I think Kyle Trask doesn't need to start this year or next, and I think he's patient enough to do it.
Right.
Like I said, I mean, the guy had never been a starter even in high school until he got to the University of Florida. Those are the type of locker room culture leader. I'm going to find a way to win guys that football teams need.
So I like Kyle Trask, but let me tell you how I think we get him. If there's going to be a scenario where we're able to pull off a Kyle Trask move. Okay, so the first thing is the first option is that we're not going to get him. Okay, because the Bucs have needs on the defensive line, and Levi Owenzerski, I can't say his last name, defensive tackle out of Washington. He's only slotted to go a couple slots ahead of us. If things get funky, people do weird things like a Gaines Adams, who happens, and this thing throws off the entire draft. Yeah, it throws off the entire draft. Somebody's going to do that before our pick comes in. Okay, if this guy lands in our lap, we take him. Okay, he is the best. Absolutely, we take him. After that, if he's not available, that's where the Buccaneer trade option comes into play. Okay, because Kyle Trask probably isn't going in the first round, and he's probably not going in the second round. Other teams have.
He might go in the second round.
He might go in the second round. It kind of depends on where people are looking, but that would give us. We could easily trade out of the first round and back into the second round. Down a couple slots, save a couple dollars, and pick up Kyle Trask and an edge rusher, something along those lines.
All right.
Well, the benefit of taking a quarterback late like that is you avoid the 3-year contract. He goes immediately into a 5-year contract, and it's already priced out, guaranteed to where it's going to be a specific number. You really don't have to worry about it as far as, overpaying for him.
Yeah. Chief, to your point, so here's what I think of the Bucs draft. This draft is not about the 2021 season or probably the 2022 season. This draft is about two things. It's about the future, and it could be a little bit about depth, but I believe you can get depth in free agency. So I don't know that we need to go chasing for it in the draft. So, I think they're looking at either a defensive lineman, just like you said, or a quarterback. But I think it's higher likelihood that you see the Bucs make some trades because they don't need these picks right now. They need them 2 years from now. So how can they trade the picks that they have and even the first 3 rounds to set them up for some future success down the road when they're going to need to reload?
Well, the first step is to find a willing trade partner, which you may not find. Okay, so that's the first step. But the second step is you got to think. And we just talked about money being a factor in the pick. That's also a pick. Just because you have 3 or 4 first-round draft picks doesn't mean you can afford all of them. So stretching out your picks over a series of years, where you're picking towards the end of the first round this year, and then toward the end or the middle of the first round next year, that puts you in a better financial salary cap place than it does if you've got the top 5 pick 4 or 5 years in a row in multiple first round picks. We've seen that with lots of teams, from the Rams to the Washington football team, who held massive amounts of picks and could not afford to keep them all, and that failed them.
So, I mean, right off the top of my head, people that can afford teams that we could have some relationship with, are obviously the Jaguars. I mean, they're right here. They're a local team. We scrimmage them. Another guy who has plenty of cap space to work with, I believe, are the Raiders. And, we know some guys, in Oakland right now, and they've got room as well. So those are two potential.
They like quarterbacks and wide receivers in Oakland.
They like the flashy
Trust
players.
me, they're going to draft a quarterback or a wide receiver.
They like screwing up picks.
Yeah.
Oh, well, man. If the Bucs don't go quarterback, I think they should go cornerback. And then, we all know they had a lot of success last year picking a defensive back who is the son of an NFL player. I think they might be able to duplicate that success. Actually, they have a couple of chances, but I think they'll have a real shot at Asante Samuel Jr. out of Florida State. Fantastic cornerback, can probably play multiple, nickelback, obviously. But hey, get him in here, see what he can do. if they stick with it and they don't go quarterback, I think he may fall right to him.
I don't know. I just think that you look at our defensive line as it looks like now with JPP, with Ndamukong Suh.
Ndamukong.
Whatever his name is, Sue. Those guys are getting old, man.
Yeah.
They're getting old. They're going to need to get some pass rushers.
Here we go. Some random guy who's probably working stiff out there says that it'd be smart to trade down. It would be smart, but again, you have to find a willing partner, and you've got to get something for your trade. You're in control.
Yeah. I don't know. So speaking of careers starting, how about some careers ending? This week we saw Alex Smith retire from the NFL. I think it was pretty awesome to see that guy last year win NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. I think the whole NFL was rooting for that dude.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'll be curious to see what next steps are for him. But that's just a great story. And then Chief.
I read, yeah, man. So Johnny Manziel comes out. He comes out yesterday, and he says that as far as he's concerned, he sees his football in the rearview mirror. And I'm like, I think it's the other way around, young man. I think that you are standing in football's rearview mirror. They left you a long time ago. This guy came out, bigger than he thought he was, or excuse me, he came out thinking he was bigger than he actually was. Is what I'm trying to say. And just never lived up to the hype and everything.
Well, listen, go back to what Pooh Bear said earlier about some of these quarterbacks are great because of the players around them.
Yeah.
Was Johnny Manziel great because of Mike Evans?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's a
yeah.
And that was my argument the entire time. We just spent some time with a fella this weekend who was passionate about the Buccaneers taking Johnny Manziel in the 12 draft?
2012.
Was it 12? In the 2012 draft, he was I think the Bucs had the 3rd or 4th pick that year. He was passionate about him. Yeah. And I said, nope, that is not the pick. And I think they did go with Mike Evans that year. And Manziel fell, I think, almost to the end of the first round, went to the Browns.
Well, we were watching them. Remember, that's when they had them live at the tables. And and then he didn't get picked, and then he finally left. He was on the floor, and they he disappeared into the back room and stuff.
Well, I think people by the time he finished his years at A&M, people were starting, and between finishing there and the draft, I think people were starting to realize he's a head case in his draft stock. I think the only professional football league that he hasn't played in is Arena League.
Which I don't know if it exists right now, honestly.
It exists anymore.
He played
the XFL, and I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, well, and he played in that remote control game too, the fan controlled league. Yeah, the one that it just ended. That's when he retired right after that.
Wow.
Yeah, total head case.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
All right, so moving on from some football. The sad story coming out of Indonesia this weekend as they lose over 50 sailors in a apparent submarine accident. Did anybody know that Indonesia had a navy?
I did not.
I didn't know. I for sure didn't know they had submarines. But this particular submarine I read was built in the 1970s.
Wow, that thing's older than you.
No, it's not.
Older than me.
Older than you. Not older than me. So, I mean, okay, look, I understand.
It's as old as you.
Nope. 60s. 68 to be exact. So, 68. So, hey, I did see a meme the other day. It said, when they're watching contestants on The Price is Right, and they're spinning the big wheel to go to the showcase. That's what it's like for them when they're trying to scroll down for their birth year on some of these apps.
Oh,
yes. It's like,
been there.
Just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Been there.
But okay. So here's my question. Okay, here's my question, because I've watched The Hunt for Red October a bunch. I feel like we could have found that sub. I mean, this sub is. I mean, is this? It's not still technology. It's not all these sneaky things.
It was built in the 70s.
It was built in the 70s, and if they're on the bottom, I mean, they got wrenches and they're pinging SOS on that's standard submarine protocol from every movie I've seen. I saw U571 a couple times too. I mean, that's what you do. You bang on it. Or do we not have, satellites that can see subs from outer space? I mean, I kind of think we do.
Well, isn't Indonesia the same one that lost the airliner not so long ago?
How do they make these things disappear? That's a question right there.
Maybe there's a new Bermuda Triangle.
Well, maybe they've got some sort of technology we don't know about. Maybe it hasn't disappeared, or maybe it's disappeared, but it's not a catastrophe, and like it's just going to show up out of nowhere someday. I mean, here's what I think. Go ahead, Puber.
Well, I was just going to say, and there was a recent story. I think it was earlier this year, maybe late last year, of the Chinese having a sub base that we just kind of found that was underneath a mountain. I mean, this was like,
I remember that. Yeah.
80s space cartoon type stuff where they had a submarine going into a mountain underneath, like Inspector Gadget and the Dr. Claw and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably a lot we don't know about that, but yeah.
Well, I think is it possible? Is it possible that the technology is available to find it, and you don't want to let anybody know you have it?
I bet it's possible, but I also bet it's possible that they could communicate that, they may have it. So let's say the U.S. does have the technology to find something like that based off of, I don't know, Apple released new tags this week where you can put them on your keys and they'll find your keys anywhere in the world, right? So I'm sure they have something.
Somebody just now invented that?
Well, Tile has had it for a while, but Apple finally released theirs, their specific brand. But anyway, so let's say the U.S. did have the technology to find this thing. They also would have the technology to be able to release that through back channels or some sort of embassy or some sort of, spy network where they could say, hey, listen, you didn't hear from me, but here's the coordinates. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because let's be honest, there was 50 plus lives at stake, and there still are.
Yes.
I think they've since perished. So I don't think that our military or our superiors are that, hey, well, you lost it, it's yours, pal. Sorry, we're not going to tell you how to find it. I don't think if that was maybe Russia or China or, one of our adversaries, possibly, but I think they would figure it out or get the information out there some way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a sad story. Now I believe, some of the wreckage that they found that, led them to declare that those sailors were lost at sea were some things that suggested that maybe that submarine had hit crush depth.
Well, that submarine is crush depth is 500 meters, I believe is what they said, and the bottom of the ocean floor is 700. And so you say it's only 200 meters, but that's a lot of pressure difference between those two.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll have to ask my boss tomorrow. He was a sub captain, so he's very, very submarine knowledgeable.
Sad story. Another sad story.
Yeah.
UFC last night.
Wow. Did you guys see that? Have you
Nope.
seen the video?
I can't watch. Once
I heard
what it was. Once I heard what it was, I can't watch it.
So I've seen the video from the fight, and first of all, okay, I'll break this down for you guys. Okay, you've got Uriah Hall fighting Chris Weidman. Now Chris Weidman is he's kind of taking a defensive stance. The bell rings, first round. Okay, he's kind of taking a defensive stance. These guys are kind of checking each other out, and then Uriah Hall kind of closes in a little bit, and it looks to me like he's just given a range-finding kick. He's going to kick this. He gives him a kick. It's a low kick behind the shin, just south of the knee, and
so Hall makes the kick?
Hall makes the kick. Uriah Hall makes the kick. He hits Chris Weidman, and Uriah Hall, the kicker, his lower leg snaps in half. I mean, like he would hit him with a noodle or something, just whap, wraps around. He goes to the ground, and Weidman's standing there. He's standing there. Okay, so you know how when you break a bat over all right, I've never broken a bat over my leg, but like when you break a small stick, you
go Bo Jackson.
There you go. When you don't feel it, right? And he's standing there, and he's kind of like, "What's going on?" And this guy is laying on. He finally sees it. He's like, "Oh!" and he backs off. But just terrible, kick there. But the thing is, that is the first ever UFC fight that has been settled without throwing a single punch.
Huh.
Wow.
He won that fight. No strikes thrown, none thrown, none landed.
Just got kicked and had a stronger leg than the other guy.
Dude, don't kick him.
I mean, I think we're gonna find out that there's more to it than that. I mean, like your leg just doesn't break from kicking something.
He may have had a previous fracture there they didn't know about.
Or maybe now he has an illness that he didn't know that is
right. I was going to say, well, maybe a blessing in disguise is that through this they find that he's got some sort of bone deficiency syndrome that is, he's
wow, that's tough, man. Like, listen, I'm not a UFC guy. I don't get the draw. Like,
I don't either.
I don't want to be punched or kicked or hit. Or I don't want my ears to look like cauliflower. I don't really understand the draw of the UFC. And I know it's like a lot of people really, really love it. But I know that those guys, they put in the time to train. So to go out there and lay out one kick and break, by the way, it's probably a career-ending injury for him.
I would think so. I mean,
maybe. You said it was like wrapped around.
Dude, I'm not talking about a fracture where is it broken? Is it not broken? I am telling you, it is broken through. It's like, and it is bending. The shin is bending forward. Okay. And it's just laying on the ground, completely angulated in the wrong direction.
Angulated.
It is,
paramedic term.
And there's two bones there, by the way. The
tibia and the fibia.
The tibia and the fibia. So it doesn't do that without both of them breaking.
Oh, man. So, and we just got done talking to Alex Smith retiring. His life was threatened by a similar injury. Not nearly as gruesome as this one sounds. But
this could be. They have something called compartment syndrome.
Right.
So that has to be taken care of. They ran him to the hospital right away, not because of the bone, but because of the complications that can arise here.
Right. So this is not just a set it and forget it. Hey, we'll see you on the flip side. No, he's got a uphill battle here. He's got to fight infection. Because now it was exposed. If you're right.
No, it was it did not compound? Come through the skin.
Okay.
It did not break through the skin, but I mean it obviously shattered inside the skin though.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I can't even.
It's like putty. It was.
I can't watch it. I can't think about it. I'm surprised you watched it.
Oh, I've seen worse.
I was gonna say, I believe he's rolled up on some worse things.
Yeah, but that's your job. You have to. This is by option. Like you had a choice to click on the link. It said,
I don't actually see it happen. That is the difference here on this. When I get there, it's already happened. So I had a fella. He was maybe 25 years old. Remember those trampoline parks that they have, mainly for kids that are in there? Well, this guy was in one for an exercise class. So, and it's always on the other side of the room. So we have to take all our gear. We're bouncing across the trampoline from one to the other, get to this guy. That's just the way he got to do it.
The visual.
You can't walk on a trampoline, right?
We're coming, pal. Hang on. Hey, Sanders, get off of that thing. Come on.
So when like day one of paramedic school, you have to build the patient's confidence. You're like, hey, I'm so and so, I'm a paramedic. With the county, I'm here to help. And I look down at it, and then you talk to him. What's going on? So I look down this guy's leg, and I mean, it is broken just like this. I look at him and said, "You want some pain medicine?" Yeah, man, I want some pain medicine. That's all I need to know. I know what's wrong, my man. I know what's wrong.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to me like those trampoline parks. It doesn't seem like me a place adults should be.
No. It's like a bounce house. You don't belong there either.
I've never ran at a kid at one of those houses, and they're jumping and flipping and everything else. Adults, I'm like, take your life in your hands. They need to have a sign up.
Displaced tip. Oh, I can't even.
A sign that says the paramedics have never come here to rescue a child.
And if you argue that, but for all our viewers, if you do go to one of these places and you're jumping around, at least do so near the door. Okay, you're gonna get better help if you're on the trampoline nearest the door.
Hey, no lie, man. I would have to call for another engine to carry guys off these things, because we'd have like 6 or 8 of us, because someone's going down.
Walking on a trampoline is not.
No, someone's going. Guarantee you, we're going to lose somebody. And I would tell them, I said, look, when someone goes, everyone else just hold on. Don't.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
I can't even.
So, how are you guys? We're 22 games into the baseball season.
Oh,
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
listen, last week we were here. We had brooms. We were happy that the Rays swept the Yankees. You know, we were all giddy. And then this week, I mean, it wasn't a bad week, but this weekend series against the Blue Jays, they should have beat them 2 out of 3 games.
Well, listen, when today's game, I didn't catch a single pitch of it.
One run.
Yeah, but when your pitchers go out there and only give up 6 hits in a game, you're supposed to win.
Yeah, and you had 2 young rookie pitchers. I mean, Patino is one of the prize arms we got in the Blake Snell trade from San Diego, right? So this kid, I think he did have some experience with the Padres last season, but this is essentially his first start, as a rookie. And Cash put him out there. He walked the first batter. He went strong after that. I mean, he was striking players out, getting good contact. He did pull him at 2 2/3. He had one more out to get. He probably could have gotten it, but he didn't like the matchup. And then they brought in the other rookie. Can't remember. I want to say Fairbanks.
It was Fairbanks.
It wasn't Fairbanks. It was I can't remember his name. They brought in another bearded young strapping lad who pitched well. But you gave him 1 run of support. It's not going to get it done.
You gave him 0 runs of support.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. You're 100% correct. You're right. I'm sorry. You gave him no runs of support. They only scored 1 run. You gave up 1 run as a defense. You got to get at least 1. There were multiple times. Austin Meadows was up, 2 runners on, 1 out, nothing.
How does that happen?
Just poor hitting.
And then the other night we lose that game in the bottom of the 9th on 2 throws by 2 passed balls.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
By Castillo. I mean, that's a horrible way to wake up in the morning.
There's some light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, first of all, Joey Wendell. The guy's hitting 343 right now. He is absolutely a machine. Okay. By the way, my pick, my dark horse for the year, Kevin Kmeyer, is coming around. He started off hitting like 0.75 or something like that. Right now, I think he's hitting right around 240, 250. So he's bringing that up. We do have a couple of guys, they're just got Mejia is flirting with 300. Randy Rosarina, he's flirting with 300 as well. So if we can here's been our Achilles heel. Pitching. Runners on base, leaving runners on base. Well, our pitching hasn't been awesome either, man. But we've been leaving runners on base. So you get a guy in scoring position, not just on base, but in scoring position. You got to bring those guys around. And more times than not, we're just whiffing.
All right, so we're only 22 games in. I'm not ready to say I was wrong about A-Roz. We'll see. Okay,
I think here in the next week or so, you're going to get a big boost from G-Man Choi. A lot of the problems that the Rays are having defensively when they're giving up too many runs, even when they have the lead in runs and they give up too many runs, it's because of defensive play at first base has been awful. There is nobody that can catch at first base right now. G-Man Choi is your defensive catcher or first baseman. He's fantastic. So once he gets back, which is I think it's projected this week or next, that should clear up some of the infield errors we're seeing. But what were you going to say about Rosarina?
Well, I was just saying, it's too early for me to say I was wrong about that. But what about Brandon Lowe?
Wow.
Lau, whatever you want to call him, Brandon Lowe. This guy was
right now it's Lowe.
Yes, he was awesome. He was like our leading hitter last season until the playoffs.
Yeah.
Do you think that his performance in the playoffs is leading to lack of confidence so far in the season? Like what's going on? Like that's a guy we're expecting to be an offensive powerhouse for us.
He is a streaky hitter. When he's on a good streak, he is dynamic. When he's on a bad streak, he looks like a double A player. It's bad. So, he's just on a bad streak right now. And for me, it makes matters worse. And I'm looking forward to watching this game here in a little bit. But the Dodgers and Padres are playing tonight, and their third game of the weekend series. And a player we had penciled in to play second base for years before the Rays traded him away was Jake Cronenworth. Mm-hmm. And he is playing spectacular right now. It's hard to watch a player like that. You're like, man, that was our AAA, the Rays AAA second baseman of the future, and he was traded away. I think in the Tommy Pham deal. So it's just so frustrating to see that. And I say on the show all the time that the Rays very rarely give up on players too early. They get all the good they can out of a player, but that's one that is not that way. He is definitely getting the better side of the Rays right now.
Well, I think it's tough because a lot of times you've got to be willing to give up somebody has potential to be able to get what
you got to
really
spend money to make money.
Yeah,
that's
what you're really
that's what it is.
That's a great analogy. Because remember, who was the catcher Vogt that we had a couple of years ago? And the guy came up, he was killed it in AAA, came to the majors, did nothing, was like 0 for 1,000.
I think that was
Luke Voigt. And then he went to either the Red Sox or the Yankees. I don't remember where it was, and he lit the place on fire. I think it was the Yankees that year. They were having all the injuries.
Yeah. It's tough to see that kind of stuff. And like I said, the Rays are really good at not doing that, not giving up on players or putting them out there when they're still have some upside to them, or getting the best out of players who are marginalized, right? So a player that, couldn't really cut it somewhere else, and they couldn't fight their way into the lineup, but then they come to the Rays and through coaching or defensive positioning or through happenstance or whatever, they just have a better season and perform to a level that wasn't expected from the former team.
Yeah. I don't know, 500 baseball, 22 games in. That's not how you
no.
That's not how you make the playoffs in the AL East, I can tell you that.
Yeah, but the Yankees are still in last, so
they still suck.
Yeah.
They still suck.
That's awesome.
So the NASA and SpaceX put a couple more astronauts into orbit this week. This is pretty cool what they're doing, and they're reusing the rocket. It's the same ship that they sent them up, the first crew up in, almost a year ago now or so. I think it was Memorial Day weekend last year. Send that second crew up, and then we got.
Did you see the contrails this in the morning?
I did. Was it Friday morning?
What day?
I think it was Friday morning. It was
Friday
cool
morning.
And crisp. It was a nice morning. Went out
fantastic.
walking the dog.
No wind. So they just hung in the air for a while, and it was really cool to see them. Yeah.
I used to love that when I was a kid, watching the shuttle launches.
The shuttle, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that stuff happening again.
And then they've got this helicopter on Mars, that they've been doing some test flights on and what have you, and it's about to go on its first mission. That stuff is pretty cool.
I agree. Just the ingenuity, right? So Mark Rober is one of my favorite YouTubers. He's a super smart guy, former NASA engineer. He actually worked on the original rover from a couple years ago, and he talks all the time about you've got this small part, right? Your only job is to design this lug nut for the rover, right? To make sure it doesn't come off, and if it does, how does it fix itself? And what's the backup system? What is your redundancy? What all these other things, and it's just that one thing that you have to worry about. But the amount of engineering that goes into it, and then to get it that far away, and it really is amazing. Truly is amazing to get that stuff done.
Yeah,
I still can't open my garage door from the street, by the way. I got to get right up to it. I'm like click, 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 click.
And I know 3 or 4 people who can't upload videos to Google Drive either.
Yeah.
So,
hey, do you know how to post videos to? Yeah, the engineering of it is all pretty good. Like this week, we were joking before we got into the green room today. You see this mega yacht out of the Netherlands that was literally it would have. There were places where there was only 2 feet on each side of the canal the thing was going on for its sea trials, but we get a massive tanker stuck in the Suez Canal. It's crazy. But that whole thing had to be engineered knowing they'd be able to get it through those canals and out to sea. That's remarkable to me.
It's crazy. And I'm here in my wood shop downstairs trying to build a shelf for something, and I'm making a floating shelf to where it's got an inside bracket that the outside slides over, and I can't get that right. I'm off by that 16th of an inch, and it doesn't fit.
Hey, just come to my house and see how many boards we had to cut to go around the first set of lights on the tongue and grid
Right?
ceiling. I think we cut 4 of them.
Right? Silly stuff like that. And yet they're putting ships through the Panama Canal. There is a Panama Canal. That's a whole thing in and of itself.
Yes.
Right? They cut the continent in half.
It was at the narrow part. It was the
Whatever.
part. It was the narrow part.
It's wider than anything else that's been cut in half like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, hey, so that Indonesian sub has been found on the ocean floor in 3 pieces.
Oof.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's like one of my worst.
Yeah, sad story.
Drowning and burning.
Yeah, I think when you were a kid, you thought there was a higher likelihood of that happening.
Yeah.
You know?
Funny story about that. I think it was yesterday on my Facebook memories came up a meme that I posted years ago about the stop, drop, and roll technique. You know, if you're caught on fire, how to do it. And I think my comment was, you know, I was led to believe this was going to be a much more serious problem when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Catching on fire.
Yeah.
It hadn't happened. I don't want it to, but it still hadn't happened yet.
Yeah. So listen, before Pooh Bear closes this out here, just want to remind you, the Kentucky Derby is this coming Saturday, and we have 2 videos out there on our YouTube page you want to go check out. One is our vlog of the actual Derby Day. Get an inside look of what our Derby Day party looks like. And the second one is us preparing for said party. And we'll be looking forward to this week. We're going to hit the recipe box for breakfast. Go pick out some clothes at the local, what would you call that?
It's a thrift store.
Local thrift store.
Yeah, we go thrift store shopping.
And
hey, I may or may not have bought something on Amazon just to help out.
That may be a cheat. Might be not be allowed.
I'm just saying.
Might have to disqualify that.
So anyways, go check out those shorts, and then this week we'll get out. And the only way you're going to find out about the video this week is you're going to have to like, or you're going to have to subscribe, ring that bell, and every time a new video comes up, you'll know about it.
Instantly. You'll know instantly. Just like my phone lights up every time I post something. Are we all going with Essential Quality as the favorite here?
Dude, I haven't even looked.
Okay. Hot Rod Charlie, that's a good name. Midnight Bourbon. That might be your boy. Or Bourbonic. Oh, wow. This is going to be great. Can't wait till Saturday. All right, folks. If you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. You're the best of our fans. You may be the #1 fan for all we know. So it's going to be a great week. I hope your team does well Thursday night for the NFL draft. I hope your horse wins the Kentucky Derby. I hope mine does too. We'll be back again next week to do this at 7 o'clock, live at 7. And hopefully we'll have that chicken sandwich war video coming out this week as well. A lot to look forward to. All right, everyone have a good night. Say good night, Chief.
Good night.